purpose to review the Highland Century Enhancement designs, and I'll turn the time over to Dr. Howe.
Okay, sure, thank you. So for today, we have our construction management group, Bateman Hall here, and Kent there from Design West is handing you out a packet of information to take a look at. These are the preliminary concept ideas, and certainly this is a work discussion opportunity for them to explain a little bit about where we are and how we got there, based upon the board's recommendation 2 weeks ago to go with option A. And so we're excited for this discussion today. Jonathan, is there anything you'd like to add before we get underway?
We can actually even use that. No, I just appreciate everyone kind of being here again. This is, as Dr. Howell mentioned, just kind of a wood shopping, if you will, as we look at some of these designs, kind of narrow in, looking at dollars to make sure our preliminary estimates were close, and so we appreciate that. I think at that time we'll kind of we'll look at Highland first, and so we'll let Kent Craven with Design West. Again, we appreciate Kent with Design West, and Mike and Shay with Bateman Hall. We appreciate them being here and working through this. We'll first look at some design, different design concepts, and then as well, then we'll look at kind of the numbers. Again, this is definitely in draft form, so we anticipate that this will might tweak a little bit depending on your feedback there. So, Kent, I'll give that to you. We'll use that.
All right. Thank you. So just as a little background, Mike and Shay and I met last week with users of the two schools, talked about a want list. So we took a week and put together some quick concepts. So these are concepts that are focused on volume and relationships. They are not final designs. That will take place post-bond. But this gives us an idea of how it might go together. It enables Mike and Shay to put a number based on the size, and gives you an idea of how it might go together. Obviously, it will be tweaked as we go through the design. So if you flip back to the Highland, it's 3 or 4 pages back, the Highland section. I can walk through. There are 2 concepts that we have for Highland and 2 concepts that we put, or 1 concept for Century. So the 2 concepts basically for Highland, I'll outline them for you. They're very similar. The only difference is 1 concept makes an effort to maintain the existing VOAG building.
The existing what?
VOAG building.
Oh, okay.
And repurpose it for wrestling or whatever we decide to use it for. So if you look at concept 1, you'll see in red, that's the VOAG building. It's about 14,000 square feet. We could probably repurpose it for wrestling or some other function. We could also probably incorporate about 5 classrooms into that space.
When you say VOAG, I guess I'm not familiar with that.
North D, so where the wrestling, the welding shop, where the wrestling and the welding shop and the vet tech is?
And that's the part that was not destroyed?
Correct.
Okay, I remember that now. Okay.
Now, the only caveat there is it's an existing, older, obviously, building. It would probably need some structural upgrades. To repurpose it, we would have to cut openings into existing walls. So there is a substantial cost associated with keeping it. Then downstream from that VOAG, if we keep it, we would build a main gymnasium. The main gymnasium would have lockers. It would have weight rooms, no wrestling, because as I mentioned, the wrestling we would try to keep into the VOAG space. And then downstream from the lockers, continuing down from the VOAG building, we would build a cafeteria with the kitchen. Across the hall, as you look, if you look at the cafeteria, across the hall, it was requested that we do a drama zone where we would have a drama classroom, some drama storage, some small dressing rooms adjacent to the smaller gym that's there now. Then moving further to the right, we would build an auditorium, and what we've shown there is a 900-seat auditorium. The auditorium would be a nice auditorium with stage, with storage, with a scene shop, and adjacent to the auditorium, we would place the band room and the chorus room, instrument storage, support spaces for music and band and those functions.
And this is a new footprint for the auditorium, correct? It's not,
Yes, everything in black, other than the existing school, is new. That's
Okay.
correct.
thank you.
It would give you, this concept gives you a new entrance for public events that come into the auditorium. It uses the cafeteria as kind of a lobby for the auditorium for those kind of events. You could shut this area off from the rest of the school for public events. Option two, oh, I'm sorry, the next page shows the upper gym level.
Before you go to option two, on this, would this be the front of the building where the public will come in to the auditorium and to the gym?
Yes.
Yeah, if you look at the auditorium, there's an arrow just to the bottom of the auditorium. That is the exit out and would be the main entrance. It would be a nice public entrance into the auditorium, exactly.
As well as the gym.
And yeah, that's also the entrance for the school.
And to the
But
gym
for-
also, right?
Yes,
For gym.
that's a main entry for the entire school, but for public events, you could seal that off and that would
Right.
be a nice entrance just
Right.
for the public.
Perfect. I like it. So where would this upper gym be?
So the upper gym sits, so it's a two-story gymnasium, so this is just the second floor of the gymnasium.
Okay, now,
The one, the first page is the second, oh,
First page is the first floor, and then the second page represents what we would build on in the second level of the gymnasium.
okay, I know that there was a problem with that old gym that they couldn't play volleyball in there because the ceiling was so low. Is that gonna be a problem?
With
If you put a
which,
gym above it?
with which gym?
Well, the one that burned down?
Oh, yeah, no, the actual court area is still 2 stories high. It's just the perimeter, you add a second floor, which is a small upper gym area. You can use it for tennis practice, you can use it for small half-court basketball, you could use it for other functions.
Oh, I see.
So that gym will now double, Chairman, now?
Yeah, it's a
The
half-court,
gym will be plenty high.
yeah, it'll be very high, yep. So that upper gym area, that upper floor is just to give you enough area where you can get 2,000 seats
Okay,
to look at the court. When the seats aren't spread out, that upper gym is just an ancillary space. Some schools use it for, like I say, tennis. Some schools use it now for wrestling, but you would have wrestling in the VOAG with this scheme, obviously.
but it wouldn't have a basketball court on it?
It could have,
It
yeah,
could?
yeah, most schools put like 2 half-court basketball
Okay,
courts up there.
and so on one side, it would be the bleachers folded against the wall that would come out
Right, right,
during events.
yep. You
And then
could
the
also.
other side is open to the
You
gym
could also
above.
use that area for cheerleading practices or it's basically an open function space. There's no rooms in it or anything up there, it's just an upper gym mezzanine,
I see.
okay?
I had a question on the auditorium where the stage is. I don't know if you've been out to Blackfoot where they have the tall, where all the scenery can be dropped and that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. Is that,
That's a decision that would have to be made by the district if they want to fly. They're very expensive. I know the existing auditorium in the school did not have a fly.
right? I don't know that any of ours do they? Pokey does.
Century does too.
Do they have a fly?
So it doesn't impact the configuration, it just
Right,
impacts
just
the
for
height.
height, right,
Exactly,
right.
yep. And I don't know if you guys priced it out that way or, okay.
Oh, you did?
You priced it with the full fly?
Most new high schools will do that.
Okay, perfect.
And it also has a scene shop behind the stage area.
Perfect.
Any questions on concept 1?
You haven't done anything as far as exterior, any thought?
As far as what?
The exterior?
No,
Okay.
no.
I didn't think so.
No, once you pass the bond, we will have basically a 2-month schematic design process, where we will zero in on exactly what the school wants in this area and how it will look. But yeah, that's down the road.
Now, I have a question. I know with this auditorium, I don't know if this is anything that you've got any experience with. Are you familiar with the Hale Theater?
Mm-hmm.
Is that at all a possibility, or is that a lot more expensive? Or is it, to have it, the stage in the center and have the seating going deep around it?
Yeah, that is more expensive. My recommendation would be that you follow more of the standard high school concept for an auditorium,
I see.
because the cost is more reasonable and they function just great. Okay, so any other questions? Obviously, both schemes, we would need an elevator up to the upper gym. Concept number 2 is,
Would that also be an elevator in the auditorium as well?
no, just
I
in the
guess
gym.
that's an option if we made it bigger. It would just.
Well, the auditorium will just be 1 story.
Okay.
Concept 2 is almost identical with concept 1, only we demolish the VOAG building. So all of the gym, including the wrestling rooms and the weight rooms that are now on the other side of the court area, it's all new. The advantage to that is it's just that. Your entire facility is brand new. It'll probably function better because it's designed the way it is supposed to be. It will also probably be a little more expensive because you're not taking advantage of the VOAG area.
Is the
But the
square
VOAG,
footage
don't
the
get me
same?
wrong, the VOAG will not be free. It will be, there will be an expense to upgrade it.
But you probably don't know any kind of a ballpark, right?
I don't know if Mike does.
You do have a ballpark? as far as
We do.
reserve?
We can go over those as soon as these.
Oh,
present.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So other than that, other than just that issue of using the VOAG versus not, the concepts are the same, the sizes are the same, the layout is pretty much the same.
The cafeteria staging area, does the 2-story end right here before the cafeteria, or is that
The
cafeteria?
2-story
open?
ends between the cafeteria and the gymnasium.
So the cafeteria is kind of an open 2-story area?
No.
Oh, but no, it ends right before that?
No, it would have a nice ceiling volume in it, but it wouldn't have to be the same height as the gymnasium or the auditorium.
I see.
Any questions?
So Kent, just to clarify, this gym is bigger. It's about 9,000 square feet.
Yes, it is bigger, because if you flip to the next page, that shows the upper level for the gymnasium. And in this version, you obviously get an upper gym on both sides of the court.
So on the left side, that upper gym would be over the weight room and the wrestling room?
Exactly, yeah.
And then the other end of it would be over the cafeteria, you say?
The other end is over the locker rooms.
Over the locker rooms?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And it has a track around it?
It could have a track if you want to, if, in this option, you can have a track. On the other option, concept 1, more difficult.
Yeah.
Well, it's only halfway around,
Yeah.
so there wouldn't.
You can have some dead
Skinny
ends in
track
your
on
track.
your side.
Nobody likes that.
In other words, there's no track there.
Skinny.
And then the last page for the Highland High School, it just shows what we had talked about in our workshop of building 4 new, nice, science labs.
Those are existing classrooms, right?
They are existing classrooms now. There's 7 classrooms there now. We would turn it into 7 large science rooms, which would be right next to the other science rooms, creating kind of a science
Wing.
pod.
So how many new classrooms in?
Well, and then what we would do is
Five.
if you look at this, the colored area in the center of the plan, that was the 4 existing, science rooms, which are inadequate. We could turn that into 6 more classrooms, and then we build 6 more classrooms in the old small auditorium. So you're picking up,
5.
well,
You're losing 2 and picking.
you're picking up 9 new classrooms.
5.
And so that doesn't, and that's.
Yeah, you're
that's
picking-
That's, in consideration, that's not including what we have right now. 9 additional
Picking up 8.
You'd
above
pick
and
up
beyond what
5.
we
So
have
you're
now.
gonna lose,
Yeah.
you're gonna lose 2
Yeah.
and pick up 12, right?
Yeah.
5.
Okay.
5. You're losing 7, gaining 4.
Where are
So
you-
that's
Okay.
How are you losing 7
science.
though? Yeah,
These-
but
these
those were,
science-
those were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're losing 4 there.
Okay,
Because you're coming back with 4. You lose, there's 8, you're gonna combine them to 4, so you're losing 4.
okay.
And then you're gonna pick up 12.
And then you're losing 4 more and gaining 6.
You're right, the existing ones, yeah. She's right.
But the one thing about it is option one
I
does
know,
have the
scary.
5 additional classrooms.
Yeah, there are also the
Option
additional
2.
classrooms in VOAG if you keep the VOAG.
5 in option 1, but then option 2, does it also have?
No,
No.
no.
Oh, yeah, those 4 classrooms go away, don't they?
Yeah, unless you want to do some kind of
Yes.
addition to
You
the.
lost 4 and you lost
So,
4.
and the drama room would be an additional classroom also.
Oh, yeah.
Because what, before they shared it?
And the
They
drama.
have, no,
at
they're,
the
they have a
room?
drama room over by the Performing Arts Center right now. And that one would clear, and they're building a different one by the new Performing Arts Center.
And so in this plan, do you have any thoughts as to what would become of the current auditorium?
Yeah, the auditorium, the
Classrooms.
existing auditorium,
Oh, that is.
That becomes
That's
6.
what that is,
Rolling
yeah,
Meadows,
that
but
becomes
Rolling
6
Meadows.
classrooms.
right here. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, that's fine.
So now you're not losing that green space
A
in
little.
between,
A little.
just a little bit,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we're extending it somewhat for the drama classroom and
Yeah, this-
storage and things
This
like that.
portion right here,
Yeah.
Is the footprint on the
Comes
back
out.
side, does that go farther back?
because before it was straight across.
Or is that gonna be the same wall as it was
At
before?
the transformer.
It's gonna be close, it's gonna be close to the same.
Close to the
Yeah.
same wall?
So
And will there be a basement?
he's saying-
No basement in this design.
Oh, thank heaven.
Yeah, no basement.
We don't do well with basements.
No, nobody likes basements.
Yeah.
People would come in through here.
And people coming through there and then the auditorium.
Cue it up.
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
are there any more questions for, I mean, we can come back, but now we'll
Okay.
talk
Yeah.
kind of the numbers.
Okay, one question on this auditorium, where the auditorium is, what's that space between them?
I'm
You're on the
sorry.
last page. Just a breezeway?
So, and that's the plot as it sits right now. The Performing Arts Center would actually go to the right, farther over into that parking lot.
Right.
And then a drama room would be built in where that breezeway is
Oh, okay.
right now.
Okay. I see.
So we can look at the numbers next. You have 2 sheets in front of you that are the worksheets. And the green one is option 1, and the orange one is option 2. We can go over option 1, which is the VOAG remains, and we do some remodel inside of it. So with that, some of the yellowed areas on here are stuff that we still got some questions on. And again, this is just a preliminary estimate. You could see what we had to work with was Kent's drawings, which are very good. I mean, this is very helpful at this view, but we're still, a 30,000-foot view at this, looking down. So preliminary estimates, we did account for some escalation in it. We've added up all of the square footage, and just for reference, the number that we submitted for this school that was presented to you guys for a bond was 57 million originally. And I know there was some deduct out of that with the money for the insurance and everything to get to the bond amount. But the preliminary number we came in with was 56,930, so basically 57 million. So option 1 comes in at 54.5. So it's under that preliminary estimate. It does include all of this, the science lab remodels, the classroom remodels, the site development, because there is quite a bit of site repairs around there, and getting to walk that and take a look at it this last week. You guys are collecting a lot of water against that building, and I'm not sure that can be solved with this project, but it's definitely something on down the road that's very troublesome to the school.
Which side of the north, which side of the school?
At least,
North,
It'd be more the north.
yeah.
north, east, and west, but mainly the north and the east.
Oh, wow. All 3
The
sides.
parking lots are sloped to the building.
Okay, so one thing we wanted to go over today was just kind of how to read how this estimate is put together. So all of the stuff up top is your direct costs associated with the project. And then there's a black line there, and below that black line is all of the costs that make up the total project. So anything above the black line is your construction cost, anything below the black line is project cost. And an example of that, the difference between that is right now we have your AE fees estimated at 7%. And I know we heard last meeting something that might be somewhere between 6 and 7, and I don't know where they ended up on that, but that's one of these things that can be adjusted on down the road as we go. There's soft costs that go along with this. That's all your permitting, your testing, your inspections, preliminary testing that may need done to this too. That comes out of that 2% number. The items in green are typically handled by the school district, are owner furnishings and equipment to furnish the new spaces, your IT, phone, and security. You know, those tend to be very by district. So what the district wants to use, who they like to use. We just kind of set up a budget for it, and the district kind of takes care of that from that. But it is still a project cost. And moving on down that, we do have a contingency for both design and construction of 5.5% built into this. And then just some things that tend to go with the project are like your site survey and a geotech report, which we may or may not have to do on this project. And usually there are some fees with pre-bond and pre-construction that go along with this, both from the architectural firm and the construction management that account for that next $22,000. The other ones is sometimes A&E firms have additional fees go along with pre-bond and reimbursable fees. And that's really, having not seen what that contract is, they're just plug numbers for now. Those may go away. Kent is probably the most fair one we've dealt with when it comes to, there's just not a lot of hidden costs with him. So, but that's what that accounts for to cover it. So at the end of the day, all of that stuff goes in and makes up your total project budget, of which it's option one is about $457 a square foot total project, which is real close to that 450 we've been forecasting for you. Any questions on the option one?
I just had a question, and it kind of relates to both of these. So this is the first I've heard about the science rooms needing, I wonder if somebody could talk to that, and what's,
So this is something I brought up at our last meeting. Oh, sorry. This is just something I brought up at our last meeting. Our science rooms are somewhat lacking. Our lab classrooms don't have the greatest equipment and upgrades. And they're also divided on two opposite ends of the school. So if we could move that upper B wing and renovate that for science classrooms, we talked about how there's a crawl space under the entirety of that wing, which makes it a lot cheaper to upgrade. And we could move all of our science teachers all in one wing of the building. And then the current science classrooms that are in the lower C hallway, they would renovate those to be regular sized classrooms. So it was just something that was brought up at our last meeting. Just while we're in there doing renovations, if we could make that change, would benefit our students and our teachers.
okay. Yeah, I'm not anything against it, it's just the first
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
So-
I am wondering about the water, as far as permits and everything, that won't affect being able to get permits to build this? The water, handling of the water?
You're talking about the drainage going to the building? No, it shouldn't affect that. If anything, it's gonna help it, so they're gonna.
Right, it keeps its own water, like, it takes, but it puts it right into the building.
It'll be part of the design for the new, it's your existing stuff that, on down the road, may continue to be troublesome. And I'm not sure, in looking at it, we could figure out a lot that you could do with that. At some point in time, there'll probably be a modification to the storm system, try and get as much of that away from the building as possible.
But you don't have any ideas as far as what the cost would be, or even how to go about it?
We could look at that. Right now, we've been tasked with the rebuild and figuring it out. I mean, I did look at it because it caught my eye. Some of the settling that was taking place in the gym that burnt down, the cracks that were in the floor, you could tell there was settling that was taking place. The masonry wall's got some serious cracks in it, so there's been some differential settlement because of the moisture that's got underneath it.
And did that affect the structural integrity of it?
No, it's still sound. It's just, you're dealing with water getting in that building in a couple places. The grading of it could be changed, there could be some footing drains, there could be some options that Kent and us could look at.
I see.
For sure, all the new that'll be taken into consideration in the structural design of it, for sure. So having seen it, that helps to make sure that it's addressed during this design phase too, for this section of the building. So the option 2-1 is the orange one, and that's with the demo of the VOAG. So again, the original estimate was 57, option 1 was 54.5, and this one's at 58. So it did go up, it is $1 million more than the preliminary estimate that we originally looked at, but it still looks like it's, in the realm of a good project. I'm not sure that would deter you guys from selecting that option maybe, but it is slightly more.
And the biggest difference when Mike put the pricing together is that this includes a 900-seat auditorium, which we weren't doing before, so it really came close to fitting into it with Kent's design of getting that larger auditorium in there. So the largest we actually ever priced approximately was $650.
And this does not have Century in here, though,
No.
correct?
And I'll just mention, we plugged in a size for a 900-seat auditorium. I don't know if that's how many you actually need. Obviously, if you went down to a lower count auditorium, the cost would come down.
So,
We did do a count with Jonathan when we were there, and we were shocked. The existing auditorium is over 450 seats.
yeah.
Oh, really?
So remember, board, again, you're looking at the gross dollars.
Yeah.
The gross dollars, so again, is what Mike said, it originally was 57 million, because again, you do have the insurance money in there that will get us down to, what we'll get to ask, the board will ask our voters to.
Plus the state reimbursement,
What now?
plus we get that state reimbursement on a bond.
The state reimbursement is just for the principal and interest, so
Okay.
it helps lower the ask of the taxpayers.
Right.
So, yes.
I mean, it'd be down the road, but it.
Correct,
right.
correct. It would be, as soon as it's, that bond payments come due, then the state will help us, and that will reduce our ask for the taxpayers.
Right.
And you recommend this rather than renovating the existing auditorium? I don't think this is working.
It is.
This is really up,
Oh,
Gotta
wait,
pull it
no.
close.
I just can't hear.
Okay.
Oh, it does work.
it's really up to you guys. Whichever option you guys think is best moving forward, it
I just
doesn't matter
wondered-
to
I
us.
just wondered not money-wise, like,
The renovation of the existing auditorium, when we met with Kent, was gonna be an extensive cost. And
Yeah, there's no real practical way to renovate that existing auditorium.
okay,
You can make it nicer, but you can't really increase the seat count.
okay.
And that's
That makes
another
sense.
reason why we did the science and the classrooms in there as well, if I remember right.
No, it
Really, we're
makes
talking
sense.
about auditorium right there, so.
Okay.
I guess I would be curious to know what the school district, what the Highland staff and those classrooms over in the VOCAG, I mean, there are no classrooms there now other than welding and, I
Yeah,
mean,
there were 4 classrooms here.
are there classrooms there now?
There's a
Yeah.
wrestling
The
room,
wrestling room?
the sports medicine room, which is an old classroom, a classroom in front of the ag part of the building.
Okay, maybe that, I
And the
guess I did
back-
walk through that.
And the vet tech classroom.
So
But-
what would you envision, because it sounds like a lot of those have all been moved over to PV Tech.
Those 2 classrooms, yes.
Yeah, so would
But
you
the
prefer
arch-
classrooms there, or do you prefer?
Well, we did talk about making the and I haven't looked at the plans, we talked about taking that animal science classroom out to make the wrestling room more of a
Well,
rectangle
But a
longer.
classroom is a classroom. It doesn't have to be used for animal science.
I just didn't know where that's located.
Let me show you.
So where it says the 2 wrestling rooms,
Mm-hmm.
that was originally a wrestling room, 2 classrooms, and some storage space.
And this was the welding. Gotcha, okay.
Travis, how does this, the size of this weight room compare to other 5A?
The weight room?
5A and 6A.
In the ag
schools?
room? Right,
Uh,
we're talking in the ag room?
In the drawings.
Option 2 or option 1?
this would be
I
brand
don't know
new.
how, I don't know what this,
Yeah, your weight room would be as big as you wanna make it in either option, cause it's new in both options.
Uh-huh. But with
Um,
this cost estimate, do you know what that size would be with these two costs?
Yeah, I can tell you right now, it's about 25 feet probably by 60 feet.
25 by 60?
So option two, the weight room looks much bigger.
Yes. It is bigger. Option two is more expensive. It works better, obviously, because it's new.
In option one, is that a big enough weight room? I don't know what size is on the option one.
It's the same size it was before. I mean, just looking at it, it's the same as what
Yeah,
we had before.
it should be an adequate weight room. And like I said, once we
Where did
decide
they say
which,
the sizes
which
are?
option we go to, then we have to do design process. And that weight room may become a little larger or a little smaller. The locker rooms may become smaller or larger to a degree. I'm not talking a big extent, but there will be massaging to this plan, quite
Oh,
a
of
bit,
course.
quite a bit. And the goal of that schematic design is to make sure all of our spaces work for the user.
I see.
it's not very.
So there's a lot of, I guess I can ask that later.
One thing I will mention about the way the VOAG is laid out now, the reason I separated the two wrestling rooms is because if we try to put them in the same room, in a big rectangular room, the way we had previously talked, you're basically taking out a lot of the existing structure. I took a look at the structural plans, and to avoid major structural renovations to this VOAG building, this is the best layout for that, the least expensive
And
layout.
You're talking,
Those
How
are-
big
you're
are
talking
those
option
rooms?
one or two?
It's pretty small.
How big are those two wrestling rooms when you do it that way?
Right now, though, I would assume they're close to 50 by 50.
So one, without a mat in.
Yeah,
each one.
yeah, the one room, is the metal shop right now.
Yeah,
So it can be as big as we want. I'm showing one corner as a classroom.
got it.
There again, that's all in the schematic design. You may say, no, we don't want that.
So you're picking up more classrooms in this as well?
Yes.
So again, I'll just remind everybody, again, this is literally the first draft, and as
Yeah.
Kent said, we are gonna massage this. It's just, okay, fundamentally, here's what we have in each of these two options, but the sizes,
I
can
just
change.
want to know, like, which sizes these prices are.
The biggest thing, difference between the two is, to look at is the VOAG staying, we're constrained to fit in the walls that are there, so we gotta make it work. And
So,
also
and
your
and are
gy-
those these red walls?
Yes.
Essentially, what's red, that's what we have to work with,
BOAG,
real
yep.
close.
right?
And then your gymnasium is smaller, your seating capacity is smaller. You go to option two, you demo that out, there's more things that can be done with the athletic department in that area, and your gymnasium will seat significantly more.
Okay, so I'm sorry, can you tell me the numbers of option one for the gym and option two for the gym, the seating?
My goal with both of those will be to get 2,000 seats
In both of them?
in both. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, it'll take some massaging, but I think we can get 2,000 in both. That will be the goal. So really, the only impact is whether you want to keep the VOAG or not.
Well,
And to your
also
comment, where I show
having-
classrooms in the VOAG, that can be anything, right? The school could decide whatever they want to put in that space.
Right, but then also, it's more money for the upper gymnasium that we wouldn't.
Concept two is
And
more
the
expensive.
track.
Concept two
the
is more
track
expensive,
Around
yeah,
the gym.
yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that it probably behooves us to consider is the VOAG is an older building, so it's not as safe as a brand-new facility would be.
And it's had the water issues, right, for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, it would take some upgrade to bring it up to, a nicer space. It's seen its years. And it's been a VOAG space, and VOAG space get a lot of abuse, obviously.
then on the second one, you said 50 by 50 approximately, I understand approximately. On the wrestling, on the second design, are those two wrestling rooms also around 50?
Those are
by-
standard wrestling room sizes,
About
yes.
50. That
Mhm,
should be as
yep.
well.
You said that you could do 2,000 people fans in option one, how many in option two?
Both of them will, our goal will be to get 2,000 seats in both options. It will be easier in option two, that's a good point. Option one will probably have some compromises with the seating. For instance, you won't have seating on the sides. You will have seatings on the end of the court. But,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and we'll see that same issue at Century when we look at Century.
Behind the basket? The upper gym on the, it does show it two-sided.
Right, yeah.
And then
Exactly.
the other one, it's all the way around.
Ceiling is in here. It can be- And
Is
that
that two-sided or three-sided?
Option one will probably end up being three-sided when it's all said
Okay.
and done, yeah. On the upper area.
But you get the two extra basketball courts up in the upper gym on the second option.
On the second option, you have two upper gyms. So you can literally have 4 half
I mean,
courts up there.
like I said, if you don't over
Option one, you
999,
only have
get a
one,
Whole new spec
a half of
thing, so 900 is probably pretty good. Yeah, but they've got all the wings and I don't know.
down.
I really like this idea.
Yeah.
I know it's more
In the
money.
exist-
Not in the basement.
Take the 25 million off,
Main level of the gym.
that puts it at 30,000, 30 million. We get some from the state. This, to me, for the extra little bit. Yeah, I really think so.
Do it right while we have the
That's right. Yeah.
The stairs are
Spend a little
kind
bit more,
of the
do
same
it right
place
the
for
first time.
option one and two.
Right,
For
yeah.
the upper.
Yeah, the designs are basically the same with the exception of the VOAG space.
And you wouldn't be able to do the upper gym above the VOAG
No.
because of the structure, it's
Yeah,
too old.
yeah, yeah.
It's
At that point, you're just spending as much money as option two
Okay,
when you do that.
to fix it and try to make it.
Okay. Okay,
So to summarize those, I guess those two options,
gotta quit doing it.
and as we, get to a point where we need to get to is, again, you can look at, it's about 3.6 million between the two, if I'm doing my rough
Right.
estimate there. Is that right about,
This one's way bigger, right?
Mike and Sherry? I think
3.5.
3.5.
Yep.
Is that extra space at the gym, newer VOAG, or underneath the VOAG, is that worth it? And so, typically in this meeting, again, just a workshop of kind of seeing, what do we kind of feel in that way? Is that,
It
Is that
gives you
worth it?
an extra gym, that extra gym
extra
on the
little
other
section,
side.
auxiliary?
So the extra
section,
gym where,
yep.
the first option, you just have the one gym. This gives you another gym and takes away the problems associated with an older structure.
Sure, and I mean, I have my opinions, but again, that's, I mean, that's a.
I guess the
wanna-
one thing that
or-
does stick out is reducing those extra classrooms. Is that, how important are those extra classrooms?
You're getting 6 extra classrooms.
In either scenario, that's what I'm saying, so
In other
in,
spaces.
in other spaces, right?
You're getting 6 in either. And then it's those extra 4.
I mean, just where they're positioned, it just seems, I don't know, I don't think it's a significant difference to just do it right the first time. And so I'm in favor of, I don't know, are we voting?
No, I don't think
I am in favor of version 2,
To vote.
where you do it right the first time. But it seems like those classrooms, how critical are those extra classrooms?
So Mike, even with the option two, it's not, the net difference from what we originally anticipated for a bond with the replacement dollars, $1 million. Okay, that's what I wanted
Yeah,
to make
that's,
sure.
I heard the $1 million too, and that's
Okay,
what I'm thinking.
and then
that's-
to offset that too, whatever we do as far as restoration, we're going to recoup that money that would come back to the district in replacement costs.
Except for that, would you recoup any of it for the demolishing of it?
Not in the demolition, no.
It would be, you know, the insurance, sorry.
No,
jump
go ahead,
in there.
Jonathan,
So the
please.
insurance would pay to upgrade the VOAG, it would pay to clean it, it's pretty dirty still.
Right.
And I think Dr. Howell, those are the costs that we would save, and we'll capture those, and they could use that to increase our insurance rebuild dollars.
The way I understand insurance is you get that money either way. You
Oh,
get.
oh, yeah.
It
But we're
would
not
have
spending it to
costs.
clean. the
Sure,
building.
sure,
Yeah,
either.
It would have cost, you get it in both scenarios. Is that what you're
Oh,
saying?
yes,
You
absolutely.
get it in both scenarios.
That is correct.
Oh, I thought you were saying that we would only get that money in scenario one.
No, we definitely get that money, and
Oh,
that is some
okay. Yeah.
additional dollars there.
Yeah, and that will be a lot.
Correct.
Yeah.
It'll,
Yes, thank you for clarifying that.
yeah, the wheels are turning, but again, we're not quite there yet. I mean, again, we're looking at
We need
this,
to
this
think about
higher things, and then,
Yeah, we need.
you know, once the bond passes, and then we'll go into the, you know, the actual, the measurements and, you know, the fine details of each space to make sure it works for Highland, you know, Highland learners, Highland staff.
So,
But isn't this, go ahead.
so the goal was to increase it to a capacity for 2,000 students, and either scenario does that with classroom spaces, gym space, everything.
Right, like I said, the seating for the first concept, we'll have some compromises, because the new design, it functions, it works, it's laid out the way it's supposed to be. With concept one, we're just trying to make it work.
But it's not as quality, or just trying to make it work as in,
Well, like I said, you'll have seating at the end of the court.
oh,
The seating will be spread out in multiple areas, wherever we can put it to get the 2,000 seats.
in nooks and crannies.
Yeah. It'll work, it just won't be optimal.
And people will still be able to exit and
Yeah.
everything.
So I guess one of the questions I had about at the end of this meeting today, I mean, part of what we want to be able to do is show the community what it is, right? So will there be drawings of, you know, some rough drawings that we'll be able to share to kind of encourage support of the bond? Is that?
We,
the goal?
after our last meeting, we had about 1 week to put this together. I think we were also given 1 week to put together some graphics for the bond.
Okay,
But we will need to know what to do.
sure, that's why I'm asking the
So the answer is yes, definitely, and Courtney has a full, great plan that she'll share with you, on how to get that information out, and it definitely has,
And later,
it definitely has graphics drawings so that people can see, you know, it basically at this level with some graphics of what they're voting for.
Gotcha.
as far as, I guess I do have a question about the water issue. I guess it's a little bit worrisome. We're building a new school and maybe not taking care of a drainage problem, potential drainage problem. Would there be a possibility of, okay, so this whole thing goes to the end of this auditorium currently, correct? So it takes in that, basically that cafeteria parking, is that right? That parking lot right by the cafeteria, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so it goes to the end of where the current auditorium is.
Everything that touches the new build will be up to code.
Oh, yeah.
Will be
oh, yeah,
taken
I'm
care
not
of
worried
and take
about
care of the
moving
drainage, for the water. I'm taking the drainage for the
Oh,
water.
oh,
It'll all be taken care of. And the majority of your problem on the east side with this rebuild, we'll take care of that, and we're gonna
Oh.
regrade the parking lot, and we won't put it back in where it's draining that way.
Oh.
There are a few areas on the other part of the school that weren't touched by the fire.
Oh, that's.
Do
what you-
still have a few issues that could be looked at, and
Oh,
possibly a
okay.
dry well, some things that could be done.
Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about the new build.
No.
That there would remain a problem.
No, we'll take care of that.
Oh, thank you. I was a little worried. I'm like, is this a good idea? Okay, thank you. I mean, of course you will. Sorry, I just didn't realize that. Is Angie available to be able to weigh in?
Are we not voting on, are we voting on this today?
No, we don't have this set for action. We just need your direction
Right,
to
to weigh
keep
in on
us
it,
moving forward.
which is a really big decision. So I'm
It
wondering.
is, but these numbers will help you with that. I anticipated that we would likely have one more meeting, but we don't necessarily need it because this is the first time you've seen the drawings. It's really the first time, I mean, we saw some preliminary stuff last week when we visited with the gentleman here today. But I didn't know if you'd need a week to kind of process this a little bit. So I was anticipating one more meeting.
I mean,
Or we
it
can have
would be-
the direction that you can give us. We're not going to vote on the bond language today. We need to probably firm up those numbers a little bit more, because we will need to get a number, maybe from our insurance and/or restoration group to walk that other part of the north building that currently exists. Again, I think those numbers will help you get closer so that you'll know, I mean, even today, we're pretty close, but.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about Angie as well. So
Okay,
that's
and,
my
and,
only
you know,
question.
we'll get this information off to her. I'm not sure why she's not here. I don't know.
I, also the band and choir, do you know how that, I'm sure it's probably a good size for this size of school, but do you know how it compares to what we currently have? And it looks.
I don't know how it compares to what you have.
Okay,
But
this-
it is a standard course and band room space
I see.
in a brand-new high school, 21st century.
What was that?
Yeah,
A stage in the.
no, I cannot.
It's staging for food. It's a staging
there's a
area for
stage.
food, correct?
No, my understanding was that the existing cafeteria actually had a small performance stage in it.
Oh, I thought that was food staging. We don't need a stage.
So obviously that could absorb into the cafeteria, that's.
Unless we want a small, a lot of times you have a small auditorium, and then you have just for
It's the same size.
practicing and for just different small events.
Yeah, things like that
I
will
mean,
be,
it seems like a very small
it's very small.
space.
Yeah, it's very small.
That doesn't, I mean, I would be in favor of leaving it there.
Things like that will be hashed out in the actual schematic design.
Uh-huh. But I would be in favor of leaving it there if it's not a,
If the kids are used to it and they like it, there's no reason to change it.
yeah.
I'm assuming it's a space where maybe kids have used it for karaoke activities, things like that.
Yeah, they have, and they have.
I do, I lied.
And they do like the Mr. HHS, and, things like that.
Poetry reading, things like that.
Yeah, probably not, but. But it would be nice.
We can also take a look at, now, Century, are we ready to?
We can look at Century.
Okay,
Okay, I'm ready to move on.
We don't know, but it'll be high enough.
About a story and a half, would you estimate, maybe?
Yeah, I would say at least 20 feet, at least 20 feet high. The cheerleaders, any cheerleaders, I would suggest their activity takes place in the upper gyms.
And that's high enough for them to
Yeah.
throw each other around?
Yeah,
Have you seen
yeah.
cheerleaders?
You would have to tell me exactly how high they get. And like I said, those are the kind of things that take place in the design. You tell me your head height of your cheerleader at top throw, and that's how high.
But it
They
wouldn't
do that at
have
the-
it high enough in the cafeteria if.
They do that at the Palace at Pokey. They do all their cheerleading stuff up on the upper stage of that. It's pretty much the same kind of an
Yeah,
idea. It's just
typically in our high
smaller.
school designs, that's where the cheerleaders
Yeah.
do their
I s-
activities.
Yeah, I've been to basketball games and watched them do that over there, so.
And that is the beauty of having two upper gyms, because it basically opens you so much to various functions and
Right.
activities. Okay, do you want to look at Century?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Century, I only have one concept because we spent a lot of time on it, and I think this is probably the best solution. It's, well, it's one concept with multiple seating layouts. So if you flip to the first page of Century, the plan, this shows the existing gym. The only thing that changes with this concept is we take the court, the lines for the court, and we move it north, which enables us to do U seating, as you can see, on one end of the court.
Okay.
This will get us up to 1,500 seats. The other option, the next page, we rotate the court. And this enables us to get away from the U seating. Some people don't like to sit in the end zone. Granted, every NBA venue in the world has seats at the end of the court. But this is an option where we could probably get away from that U seating. Both seating options include the option to add an annex where you see the wrestling mats. That's an addition to that end of the gym where we could have wrestling, additional restrooms were requested, potentially some locker rooms. So that is a 2-story annex that either option we could add.
Yeah, we talked about waiting to do locker rooms, but so we.
Oh, I see.
So what that represents is 2 seating options and the option in both of those to add an annex. And we've sized it as, I think, 7,000 square feet per floor right now. But that's really something that would really be helpful if we knew exactly what functions, if you do that annex, need to go in there, right? Because right now we're just taking a guess.
Okay, so on this option 2, these bleachers would go back, and then will it have an extra 4 courts there?
This would have an upper gym, and you could fit 2 half courts up there. It would be an area where they could do cheerleading, again, an open function gym space.
So it wouldn't just be the lower that you're adding, you'd be adding the upper.
Well, it comes down to what you want to do. Obviously, if you just do 1 story, the cost is less. If you do 2 stories,
Then you got
costs more,
elevator.
more functions.
Right.
And you have to add in the elevator.
We'd have to have elevators and stairs going up to that space.
Okay.
So this is not changing the gym that's there currently, this is an additional gym.
Yeah, both of these have limited change to the existing gym.
Oh, to the,
No,
It's existing gym.
oh, it's the existing gym.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're trying in the first concept where we have the U seating, right there, we're trying not to do anything to that
See
gym.
on this one here, they've moved the gym this way, so they got more room here.
So there's.
So
On
where
this
is it
one-
connected to
On this one
the
here, they
school on
turned the
this one?
gym
This side?
sideways. On this one, they
Correct,
turned
on
the gym
the,
sideways.
on the top of the drawing is where the school,
Gotcha.
the school would be, yeah.
So either way, we basically move the orientation
This
of the
is
court,
floor 1.
and we change all the bleachers out to
Uh-huh.
get up to 1,500 seats.
This is your main gym.
And both options are 1,500 seats?
We could do more if you want, yeah. Option number 2, we could probably get up close to 1,800, as we looked at it preliminarily.
And so with that, do you have any preliminary idea of the difference in the numbers on this one?
And this is where, again, we're anticipating we might have another meeting, but anyway, Mike, I'll let you kind of talk to that just a
Well,
little bit.
a ballpark.
Yeah, this one developed way late Friday afternoon and again this morning, so we just didn't have time really to get a concept put together and piece it together. And Kent's right in that, we kind of got a preliminary scope with preliminary square footage that we're really trying hard to stay within. But we need to have that scope meeting and define everything that is wanted out there and needs to go in this. Maybe wants is the wrong way to say it, but that needs to go in this. So that way we can get a true square footage and see how it's gonna fit on the end of that building to make this work too. So putting together a number today wouldn't have done us any good. We got one more step to do here to to get this for a
so-
better presentation.
So Mike, but I just want to mention, so that second page, you thought that was within the original number that you had. We need to maybe even flush this out even right now, is what I'm gonna say, is so we can get you the information.
It feels
you
like
need.
it, I mean, if we can stay under 22,000 square feet with this, with the remodel portion and the addition portion, which it feels like for, you know, if we're talking a couple of wrestling rooms and maybe some restrooms and hallway space, then yeah, we feel like it's gonna fit within that, well within that. But then we hear about additional locker rooms, you know, the possibility of moving a ticket room and up, and that may all be possible within it. We just need to know so we can get you something a little more exacting, because right now it feels just too loose for us to be comfortable with it.
Okay.
Well, we did just barely approve the building of a locker room, a concession, everything by the football field. So that part,
Doesn't
Yeah,
have a locker
there's
room.
some,
It's not a locker room, it's just a team room. There's no lockers in those.
well, I know, it's not called a
Okay.
locker room, but it's
Okay.
the same thing as a locker
Okay,
room.
on this, on this, option two, these, bleachers on these bleachers on the bottom of that picture, those are upstairs, and they would be folded back and be able to come out, and that's the area where you're talking, you would have a place for the,
Right. On option,
cheerleader and
on
stuff.
option two, we have a second level of bleacher. Option one, we're using that U to keep all the bleachers.
Right.
on
I see. So on option one, you'd keep the roof and the sides of the building, is that right?
Yeah.
well, in option
And
one,
then
in option one, there's no change to the building, right?
And then
Outside,
option
Option
two,
one, there's
you'd
no
be
real
taking the
changes.
roof off,
No,
no?
no, no.
Oh, how do you add, it's.
The
higher
only,
up
the only
with that
difference,
second level?
the only difference between the two options is option one, you just leave the gym exactly the way it is. You put new bleachers and new paint lines. Option number two is that you do the same thing. The gymnasium stays the way it is. You rotate the court lines. The only difference is you knock the south wall out. So you can put bleachers on the second floor of the annex that can look down on the gym.
And
Right.
that ceiling is high,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
roof is high enough, you don't
yeah.
have to do anything to the existing roof? Oh,
No changes to the roof structure in either option.
I see.
So that-
except you're
that's just-
adding on to it.
That's just for the gym portion though, right? I mean, with either option one or two, we can still add annex space, additional space for the needed scope too.
Right, right.
Say the
There's
wrestling rooms
there's
or
little,
things
if
like
any,
that.
change to the existing gym. The annex is all new.
Yeah, so with the new concept, one of the things we gotta look at out there is how to relocate the water line that goes all the way around that facility too. So
Oh,
that's gotta be part of it. The
Okay.
configuration of it, that would allow us to kind of figure out what that's gonna look like too, once we know the configuration fits what's needed to go out there too.
and
Yeah,
you
Mike-
know it's lava rock out there as far as, okay.
About how far is that building, that annex going to go out?
Well, Mike is right. This is just a placeholder of about 7,000 feet per floor, but we don't know what's going in there. The other design where we're anticipating an auditorium or a band room, we know what sizes those are,
Right.
and that's represented. I don't know what's gonna go in here, so we need to sit down with somebody and say what you want in there, which will dictate.
Okay, and I'm going to say we're sitting down right now, and I think we need to decide. So if that's okay. So, and again, so I think for our century, what we've told our people, we need to have that annex. The U shape, yeah, we'll hold that in our pocket and we'll see, if we ever have to use that in the future. But I think for this bond, and I think for the needs of century, that this, the second page, if you will, to kind of have that second story. And so I'd like to throw something out, and then you, at least get a starting point. Again, there's 2 spaces for 2 wrestling mats, oversized wrestling mats that could be in the first floor of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could go underneath, and then at the top level would be your auxiliary or your upper gym on that one side. So at least you're increasing gym space.
So they're in need of a wrestling room?
Yes, because they're in a dance hall right now.
Right, okay.
So now, so I'd like to throw that out, and then for the board, Century, what is that? Either correct me, enhance me, shoot me down,
So,
what?
well, we've just been visiting over here. So
Yeah.
the wrestling mats that you have drawn in, are those to scale?
Yeah.
So if we pushed, and Travis, I need help here on this one. If we pushed both wrestling mats together in a wrestling room, do you need walk room around the wrestling mats, or do you just need to be able to fit 2 full-size wrestling mats?
Most wrestling rooms have walkway so kids aren't walking in
Be-
on the street.
Between the 2 mats, or if you went around the outside edge? Okay, so if we push those 2 together, could you put small locker rooms on the left side of your picture there?
Probably not. And the reason I say that is we still, this is very diagrammatic, we still have to get stairs and an elevator in this space.
Right.
So 2 sets of stairs and an elevator. You could potentially put some restrooms down there, but no locker spaces.
Okay,
But it could if you want.
I mean, if you wanted to
If you-
increase the
if-
size,
make it-
yeah,
make it
yeah.
big.
Room's got 97,000 feet.
Yeah.
Can you put the 2 wrestling mats on the second level,
No,
the bottom
Not with the
level?
bleachers.
well, no, you couldn't do that because you got bleachers up there.
Well, you
but the
can-
bleachers
Unless
fold
you-
up.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, you can do that. The problem with that is typically when you put mats on the upper gym area, they always have to roll them up.
Yeah.
Because it's not a designated wrestle room,
Yeah.
right? And most coaches don't like to be rolling and unrolling the mats all the time.
They're very expensive and you'll
Yeah.
wear.
Oh, yeah,
mats
yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Well, plus
Yeah,
I don't know how you'd get
we're
them.
used to doing.
I think we'd have difficulty moving those wrestling mats up and down the stairs too. That would be.
But to
'Cause I don't think you move
Shay's
those.
comment, if you tell us what you want in there, we'll size it accordingly. I just
So
need to know what.
wrestling room,
So, we had
I
talked,
like it.
we had talked about a couple of small locker rooms also, if possible.
Would you
in
be
addition
okay
to
with
the
those?
ones we just built,
They're on the football field.
right.
When you're playing basketball, you don't want to run all the way out to the football field to use the team room in the snow.
No, I
So-
wouldn't think so.
So we
Yeah.
need, they need another set of, they don't need to be, I don't think they need to be full-size locker rooms,
Correct.
but if they were even just.
Well,
just-
where do they go now?
Team rooms.
Don't they have locker rooms now?
No, we don't have anything now.
Oh,
So, depending on the visiting team, they go to one or the other, but
Right.
if like teams in practice, they're dislocated.
Typically,
I
a
see.
high school has 2 sets of locker rooms.
But,
Girls and 2 boys.
right.
so do either, any of our high schools have that right now?
We did. Pokey has.
They have a couple of team rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right, the team rooms, right.
Yeah.
which are
So
on the
just to
football field.
clarify, what we do now is if we have a girls' team coming to play, the visitors go into the boys' locker room. So when the boys then are finishing their practice, they're finishing up while there's visiting girls in their locker room. And the two don't mix well, right?
They like to, they don't.
So are you saying you need team rooms or lockers?
Team room would be sufficient, yeah,
Yeah.
team, yeah. Yeah, they don't have to be huge. I mean, a
No,
basketball
no,
team
team room
is,
is packed, usually a room where they can dress down and a wall of lockers.
Right,
That's all
it's
it
the
is.
same
We don't
thing
need
as
any
a locker
lockers,
room.
no
It's just a
lockers.
decision of
Yeah.
what style.
Not even lockers?
We need a
Nope.
place
They
for
just
them
need
to dress down, be able to sit during halftime, and then
Okay.
we can secure during the game.
That's easy.
yeah.
Yeah, the team rooms do need a bathroom.
Yeah, if it had a bathroom or two, yeah.
That's not
Well,
Oh,
So
there's
2
a-
team rooms?
somewhere,
So you
I
say
mean,
2
lockers,
team
I'm
rooms?
sure will have showers, right?
Yes.
But we're not
Say
talking
2 team
lockers.
rooms, and then maybe 2 bathrooms,
So-
or something like that?
Oh, in
Well,
this
or
annex?
They usually put the bathrooms in the team rooms.
I know, I'm asking,
So
so
let's-
2 team rooms with 2 bathrooms.
One of the things that we had talked about, and I don't know if this represents it, but we're in this hash it out. We do not have public restrooms in F-Wing. None of our gyms have a bathroom for the public to go to. So therefore, we have to leave the building open with a set of fire doors and send them into the actual school. So we're not securing our building during events, and so we have that going on. So when we were brainstorming, I said it'd sure be nice if we could get some public restrooms in that facility area of where the public's at.
And this annex would be a good place for that, because it will have a separate entrance.
Would there be a way to gate off the 2 hallways and just have it be, because, I mean, that's the ones we use when we are in the gym, we use the ones right there well, we
Mhm.
use both, the auditorium and the gym uses the same
Right.
bathrooms. Would there be a way just to gate off the hallways?
You
For
can
just when the
gate
gym
off
is
the
only being
hallway,
used?
but the commons area is open.
But it still leaves us.
Does that make sense? And once you're in the commons, you can go anywhere.
Oh, okay, so there
So-
really isn't a way.
I just have a question. What would you anticipate would be then the main entrance for guests when you look at this?
Option two.
This one, is this what you
Yeah.
call option two?
Yeah, the north entrance will stay pretty much the way it is. This will have a hallway between the wrestle room, this will have a hallway that goes all the way between the gymnasium and the annex,
Okay.
with doors at both ends. So there will be 2 more entrances to the gym area.
So, but when the public comes from a game, right now we come in here, where the bleachers are.
They come up over here.
No, we come in
Yeah.
right here.
Now they could come in right between the
They
annex
come in
and the
through
gym.
this hallway and they come in here. So would we be opening up a courtyard for a door, for an entrance?
No,
Does that
like I
make
said,
sense?
you would have a full hallway between the gymnasium and the annex.
So here.
Does that make sense?
Is that where the courtyard is? Is that
Under-
where
Okay,
you're-
so you're
under
thinking
the
there would be
bleachers.
an
Under the
event
upper
entrance.
There would be
An
an event entrance.
entrance here?
Right in there?
Yeah, there would be an
Both
event
sides.
entrance on both sides.
Both sides.
Between
Okay.
the auxiliary
Okay.
gym and the main gym.
And then sidewalk to the parking lot?
So
is
there
that
would be
Right.
Yeah, we could just have.
sidewalk to
some
the
sort
parking
of, area there for ticketing, that kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if that might need to be just a little bigger right there somehow, I don't know how, but,
So,
do you know what I mean? So if there's
You
an
can make the
entrance,
hallway as big as you wanted.
Main
sorry, what?
ticketing area.
we just
Right.
need a significant entrance, because
Okay.
ticketing would line up, does that make sense, to get in? And so by this, they would be lined up all outside, which is fine,
Yeah,
but if
that's-
it's raining and snowing and cold, you know,
where do they line
Is
up
there-
now?
down the hallway.
In our commons and down the
Well, they
hall.
could still do that. We're not gonna, oh, you don't want them to.
Well, but they can, I mean, I don't care, but our traditional entrance is now blocked by bleachers,
Well, and
which is here, and now we're saying the entrance would be here. I think, if I
Could
understand
that
you.
hallway be as big as you want it to be?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
we're probably talking.
I'm just trying to visualize,
We're talking,
sorry.
we're talking like a 14-foot hall, which is similar to the one at the north end that you have now, right?
So you can put
Okay.
ticketing on,
Well,
Okay.
that's,
One
so
side.
what I'm hearing right now
Okay.
is you want
Okay,
2 team rooms, you want ticketing, public restrooms, and then the wrestling room, right?
Which could be the bottom of the.
Right, yeah, that would be on the lower floor.
Right,
Yeah.
and that makes me smile, if we can do this, because then I look at that upper level, and that solves my chair issue.
Right,
And when chair ends in March with state, that's exactly where I can put batting cages for softball and baseball is up there.
Right.
And that got them their spot, so this really solves a handful of our checklist.
I have a question about that,
it's in the hallway. Yeah, and that's why I'm wondering, I don't know that moving, I mean, I'm just not sure how we enter the facility.
we, you know,
Cause concessions sits way over here now.
when we met with you the other day,
Yeah.
we were
yeah,
out
yeah.
there in the,
Yeah,
where it
you
got
saw it.
narrow in the hallway.
Uh-huh.
Where you have that outdoor
that's gonna stay
canopy.
the same way.
Uh-huh,
There's opportunity right there. Instead of walking them down through there like was the original intention.
Right.
Yeah, there's actually a.
That,
we
at the end of the
build out
corner of the
this
building,
way,
that's about where your entry would
and
be,
we
which is
build
out
actually
this way.
getting within probably
And the
50
bleachers go
feet
right
of the parking
over
lot now.
there.
right, right.
That whole hallway, the outdoor could be remodeled, add a wall to it, and that could be a corridor for lining up and ticket room. I don't know if
Okay.
Kent saw that over there yet, but
Okay.
there's
It
options
is.
there.
I like it, thank you. Okay, thank you. There are,
Yeah.
you know, it just depends of which problems we're trying to solve, you know? Are we trying to get a separate venue where, you know, where we don't have the public in the rest of the building while they're trying to clean at night? You know, where we can actually block it off, and if we don't care about that, then we need to figure out how to use our old entrance somehow where the restrooms and the concession stand currently are. But somehow they have to tie together, because if we use them now, we're headed into They enter underneath the bleachers, which could be creative. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, my
right.
I just had a question on the mats. Is there a wall? I mean, you're not gonna have the public lining up, standing on the mats or anything like that?
Separate room.
It'll be a separate, okay.
Yeah, like I said, there'll be a full-length
Hallway
hallway
with the
between the
mat.
gym
Okay.
and the annex.
Right.
So
I like that.
in the annex, are those also, they're two wrestling rooms, basically? So is that also like two 50 by 50
Yeah.
wrestling rooms, so like? 100
Standard
by
wrestling
100?
room sizes.
So like
Yep.
100 by 100? Or whatever, 100 by, no.
Right,
50
with
by-
the upper gym.
Probably.
And you already have a weight room, right?
Yes.
I do.
So can I just review again? So for the annex, we want 2 team rooms, 2 wrestling rooms, a ticket booth in the hallway area
Yeah,
somewhere,
I don't
right?
even, it doesn't need to be a separate room. but it was just a
Public
spot.
bathrooms, and that's it, right?
I think the hallway needs to go back to the building because of the concession areas. No longer use concession stands, so you're gonna have to have a hallway
But the
parallel to the.
People aren't understanding.
but aren't the bathrooms currently by the concession stand?
But they're facing the other way.
Man, that was on TV.
If you're gonna have all.
But if that's open to the concession stand,
I'm sorry, you would want what?
So,
If you're having all that extra seating on the south side, having restrooms in that annex would
Yeah. Yeah, that's on my list. The thing that isn't is a concession stand,
and that's what I'm wondering
because that
about.
that kind of short circuits everything.
It does. I mean, I guess we need some ideas if we want to utilize that existing.
So behind these
It
bleachers on
would-
this,
it will save you cost if we can use the existing concession stand and find some way to isolate it. So people can go out there, but they can't wander the school. I haven't looked at it, but it's probably not an impossible task.
No, I don't think it's impossible. Plus, and I think, and these guys saw that courtyard and where it's covered, that whole section. I think there might be something we can do with that as well. That,
Concession is
You see
part
what
of
I'm
that
talking about?
hallway.
yeah.
I do, yeah.
that's what I was wondering, if the concession can be in.
But that hallway
Yeah.
leads
Like,
to,
I-
that hallway leads to the interior of the school now, right?
It's outdoors.
outside.
Yeah, it's outside.
I know that, but where does it, there's no entrance from that covered area.
Here, Kent.
Yeah, it's right.
It's this, see this
Right
little piece
here.
where it's
Yeah,
got
but
those
there's no way
archways?
to get into the gym from there. You're still going into the school.
Correct.
Yeah,
And that's our existing ticket booth right there.
Yeah. So you still got people trying to get their hot dogs going into the school.
Yes.
Right.
But I'm hearing we would like to avoid that.
That'd be nice. I mean,
So now,
I mean, we can do that, it just increases the size of the annex.
right.
We've done some curtain walls
and there are no, there is no concession stand.
Mhm.
gave that off.
And there also is two locker rooms, shower doors.
Yeah, but as long as you have the annex to go out to that courtyard.
I think that's what, right here.
Oh, right here, oh, that's concession.
I think so. Is this concessions on the Highland?
Yes,
And then men's and women's restroom right
yes,
there.
right, yep.
And then it has two locker rooms, right? Or is there 4?
Yeah, the new gym will have 2 locker rooms for each sex.
So won't we run into the same problem in the Century
Two for each
Perk?
sex. 4 sets, or
Oh,
4.
okay, 4.
Yeah.
Okay, 4 locker.
So I guess since we're here, so with these additional requirements, what do you think of the price? I mean, I just want to make sure we didn't
Pull the
project
rabbit
creep
out of
this
your hat,
out.
Mike.
No, I know, but I mean, is
Yeah,
it
5
within
minutes.
reason, kind of like what the option,
It
is it?
depends on what this annex ends up, the size of it ends up being. I think
Sure.
there's a discussion we should have about the concession, where it possibly could be located there and make this work. And, does this annexation now, is it, the way it's drawn now, it's the size of the main gym. Do we make it the size of the main gym and the auxiliary and see how that ends up working and stays within that 22,000 square feet?
Yeah, we can definitely extend.
Oh,
that.
sure, because you got the Aux Gym over on the,
Yeah, so,
That-
keeping
We can
it
make
close
that
to the
as
building
West
and
side.
making it longer,
Yeah.
may solve our water line issues, help with that too. So there's still some possibilities here, but I'm not pricing anything
No,
until we
I
know scope.
But you
I mean,
are, but you are.
obviously, it's getting a
but you're-
little more expensive. Is it getting out of the realm? That's what I want to say.
No,
Are we getting
is it
too much?
staying within
I
the
don't think
budget?
so. By using that main gym still as your primary gym, this just give me instant relief as far as the pricing for
Sure.
22,000. Because on the other version of this, where we're going new gym and main gym, you're getting into well, you saw it, 38 to 40,000 square feet, and that's over what we initially priced. So yeah, we're still hitting in a good spot here.
And the other thing we gotta bear out as we're figuring this out, when we were talking to Sue and the other day, Jonathan, we can't do this gym the same time we're doing Highland.
That's correct.
We gotta get Highland done first, cause they need 2 gyms. So Mike and I have got to put our heads together and figure out what's gonna happen with the economy and what's gonna happen with escalation. Cause this gym for Century is probably 3 years down the road. So we gotta kinda lay that out.
That's
They can't
understandable.
start this for 3 years. Because we
But
can't
I think
take
I like that idea,
gym
kind of
out
extending
commission
it
for
out,
Highland.
so that
Yeah,
way
can
we,
run the full length of
full length of that building right now, and that gives you extra space for some of those additional requirements.
I think, it's just a wild guess, but I think by the time we get everything you're asking for in there, it's gonna be about 20,000 square feet.
So what I'm wondering is if we move those wrestling rooms down to basically the end annex of the small gym, then we've got that space that we can use for the other.
Right,
things.
we can
For
fit,
the
we
bathroom.
can fit all of your
Yeah.
That's what I
functions
was
in there.
wondering too,
Yeah.
is if we slide it down, if we could put, because public bathrooms, I mean, if I don't know if it's to scale, but when you look at the Highland one, it's a teeny little square, but maybe it's not to scale. Like when you look at, but if you put that same teeny square here, but it's probably a different scale.
How big is your concession stand now?
Oh, gosh. Alan? No? Is it? I don't know. Probably.
Do they have one in the building already?
I think that's really the missing piece right now, is if you wanna get the concession stand down in the annex or not.
I think it would be nice because it would solve the rest of that problem.
Well, but you could put
Put it on
curtain,
there.
you
Put
could
it
put
on there with
curtain
the
gates
question mark and
on
see if
both
we can
ends, and you're done.
It's just something we'd have to look at.
'Cause maybe it is very simple and
Because it doesn't flow.
within the,
Because it's
Yeah.
used
if we
for-
expand the entire building, maybe we can't.
Well, it functionally, it works really great, because you've got a long hallway where people could gather,
try to do
and
that
having the
with
concessions just open to that hallway would be a great solution.
doing a
But
film.
obviously, it'll be more expensive. And to your point, Mike, if we keep this annex like 40 or 50 feet deep, we won't hit that 10-foot, or that 10-inch water line.
No, that makes me real happy too, because of the rock.
It doesn't seem,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I took it, this doesn't seem like it would have to be very big, look at Idaho State, for the whole arena.
Yeah.
It's just, really small. I don't know.
Have you ever had ticket booths under the bleachers?
But those bleachers are retractable, right?
Yes, they are.
On the main floor,
Yes.
they are?
Yeah.
Everything's retractable.
So you could-
Is there a walkway behind those bleachers? I see there's 2 doorways there. Is there enough room to
Yeah,
walk?
there will be a walkway behind those bleachers. Yep.
But it won't be really big, will it?
It'll probably be about 8 feet.
Oh,
Yeah.
8
The
feet?
big hallway, isn't that the big hallway you're talking
No,
about?
no.
No,
That's the hallway from the existing hall, the doors that you're talking about from the existing hall.
right.
There'll be a small hallway under the bleachers.
Okay, that's at the
Yes.
top of the picture right there.
And is that the hallway that leads to the wrestling room?
No.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, if you look at your picture,
I'm
at the,
looking at the second
So the kids
level
come in
though.
for gym.
I'm looking at underneath the second level.
There's a hall under
The
there.
100, that's a hallway that I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Under that second level of
Right.
bleachers.
Yep,
That hallway.
yep, correct.
I'm just wondering, we were just talking about putting bathrooms, public restrooms, just a few there.
That's on my list.
Okay.
Yeah,
But in that spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
in the annex, yep. So, yeah, I think the annex with these function will work. I think it's a good solution, and I think it will be a pretty easy build.
So what did we decide, just to be clear? Are we gonna use the concession stand and figure out a way to shut it out off the school? Are we going and use the public bathrooms that are currently there, or
So
are we doing?
the way I'm gonna approach it now, for now, unless I'm told otherwise, is I'm gonna, in the annex, we're gonna have 2 wrestling rooms.
Okay.
We're gonna have public restrooms. We're gonna have 2 team rooms. And we're gonna have the concession stand.
Did you say
And then-
locker rooms and team rooms?
No,
No,
just team
just team
rooms.
Just team rooms.
We're good, yeah.
Is that-
Yep.
So-
Oh,
and
and,
so that will
and,
be
and the
3
ticket booth.
So that'll be 3 concession stands. That'll be the 3rd concession stand at Century, is that right? The current one, the one out by the football field, and then there'll be this one.
Well, I'm assuming you would, I would see,
Repurpose.
I would assume,
Look at repurposing.
yeah, you will
Oh,
repurpose.
you wouldn't use that anymore.
There'd
I
be-
see.
That would become a great storage room.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's a lot of
Schools don't
fridges.
ever have enough storage.
They want it.
We
Right.
just got
They
storage,
have more than that.
right? School
Except for it's
store,
expensive storage with kitchen.
school store, lots of things we could do with
It,
it.
it should give you a nice upper area too,
Mhm.
for, you know, your
I like the
baseball and all
upper
of
area
that.
a
That's,
lot.
that's gonna be a really
Yeah.
nice space.
Yeah,
You guys
for
okay?
cheerleading,
That's the-
gets them
that's
off
the best
stage
spot.
Century gym?
In the auditorium, and gives them a home,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like it.
I mean, do you think that's a
Nice
discouragement
job,
to the
thank you.
bottom?
So I guess, okay, so thank you for wood shopping that. I think that is, again, Ken's got some great, a list here of kind of, it looks like it should be able to fall into pricing. But I do feel, as Dr. Howe mentioned, we might need one more meeting before we get that final number in front of you for the bond.
For both.
If that's,
I think
sometimes.
for the bond, absolutely, to
Yeah.
firm up these numbers based upon this latest wish list, if you will. But I think today, if we have the direction that I understand, for, at least for the Highland project, to go ahead and allow Kent and Shay and Mike to look at, I'm feeling, so I just need your direction to push us all in the right direction.
Yeah, well, we don't
Again.
have enough information on the
But-
Century.
Yeah, we have enough information on Century, but as far as the concepts and where you want to go from here with regard to Highland, if we want to look at a possible demolition of the existing structure, and then again, take those fees that we would have spent for the reconstruction, repurpose, remodel, everything, and put those toward this project and going ground up on the whole D wing.
I think I'd be in favor of
I
that.
would be in favor of that.
So, and Mike, you've looked at those transformers, because all electrical is just hubbed right in that area. Is that
Yeah,
a good
there's-
chunk of it anyway?
We
The
will
new-
work around that. That won't be a
So that's the power from Idaho Power, that's their main substation, right? Or that's Highland's main distribution center, right there.
And there may be some upgrades required by that through, through doing all of this too. I'm almost certain of it.
And that was.
But I did increase those numbers accordingly in hopes that, you know, we've got what it would take to cover it. But again, we don't know exactly what all that is, but I've got enough money in there to cover a new transformer replacement.
Oh, cool.
What I was wondering too is, with insurance, by law, if you have a certain percentage, what is it, 30%, that you're remodeling or rebuilding, the rest of the structure has to be up to code, it can't be grandfathered in
Oh,
any
right.
longer?
Absolutely.
Well, since that's the law and we don't have any choice, does insurance cover part of that grandfathering? Because we don't have a choice.
And you're talking about Highland?
I'm talking about Highland, the part that is all burned, we have to rebuild, and the insurance pays for that. But by law, we have to upgrade the rest of the structure, like the water in the auditorium, those things, we have to do that.
Correct.
And so, since we have to do that, because it's as a result of the fire.
Yep.
We have to do that. And
Yep.
if it wasn't for the fire, we wouldn't have had
Correct.
to do that.
And that's those,
So, are we asking for that money from the insurance?
yes, and that's what we mentioned that
That will be covered?
that will be covered, and we'll be able to
Okay,
add
then
that,
correct.
correct, add that back in,
Oh,
because we'll,
that is so good.
yeah, that is
Such a
really
relief.
good.
Also, just in talking with Jonathan, I haven't ran this by our construction architect team, but we also have that square footage in the basement that should be valued at replacement cost, even though we're not going
As
to.
a weight room.
Yeah, and so I think we can take that money and put it, if you will,
Into the new
toward the new part of that structure on the north end as well. So I think there's a lot of ways to recover some money to put toward this, that it won't seem quite as big, and then with Mike working those numbers, we're only a difference of $1 million from where we were on that preliminary number already. So I think we're gonna be able to whittle that down even further.
So I just want a quick conversation that Alan and I just had, just to reiterate the point here. I mean, he even mentioned, okay, we have the gym, the cafeteria, and the auditorium. Well, what if we just swap those? You know, and well, we'd have to get with Kent to see. And again, that shouldn't change our decision because we're so early and so high level. So don't get so caught up into, okay, the gymnasium's here. We're still focused on the attributes, the characteristics of this gym. It's gonna be 2,000, 2 stories, you know, with the track, add some eligibility place,
are you-
whether it's here or maybe we'll switch it with the auditorium.
Right, and so
And
are you saying?
whatever's best is
Oh.
where we'll flush that out in the months in the springtime
Uh-huh.
to say, okay, what layout would be best? And again, appreciate Kent. I mean, it's for a full week's time. This has been a lot of work, and so we appreciate, and he knew that was coming down there. But again, just keep,
Can I?
this is not set in stone, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so can I ask a question? The gymnasium, if it was on the other side, then all the parking lot would go into the gymnasium. We could shut off the auditorium wing.
Correct.
Possibly.
Okay?
Yep.
And then also
And
if the
that's
gym
where
is
Alan had
open-
mentioned that, so
So
it might.
I'm not saying it will work like you're
Sure.
saying. It's
We'll
I'm
just have to
saying
get
the
with
same
Kent.
thing as you are.
Yep.
But, so if we have the gym first, could we then have, well, we could have like a commons as you walk in, so that you have the ticket area, that would be in that side, right? Instead of in this hallway, it would be at the front, obviously, where the people come in. And then between the auditorium and the gym, just the way it is right here, would be that cafeteria with the tables and things, I mean, if you just flip-flop it.
Mhm.
And so that area could be used when you're using the gym, but just shut off right past that, so the auditorium isn't open. Is that, are you following?
You could have the auditorium closed off anyway.
So the
And
cafeteria
either one of them.
part, that common area would be, could be open and used when the gym's being used,
Sure.
just not the auditorium.
And I didn't mean to bring that up for discussion. It was basically just the point of, okay, things, you know, might change. But again, we'll have all spring, we'll get the board involved in all of these different decisions.
Well, I would like to know if that costs.
Will that change your decision, though?
I
Or
think
your vote?
Changing, I think deciding to demolish the VOCAG building
That part
gives
of it.
them a lot
Yes.
more,
Correct.
Yes.
It
a
does.
lot more flexibility than
yeah.
we had before.
Yeah,
And I
but
think
just
that's,
wouldn't want you to get too far in the drawings.
No, we're
And
not
then
gonna
go,
do
wait
any
a
more
minute.
drawings.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, please
To-
elaborate on
yeah.
that process for you.
What's gonna happen is when we put graphics together for Courtney, it's basically gonna be a colored block. And it will say new gymnasium, new drama room, something like that. It's not gonna show any kind of design.
They'll just show where it is. gym,
Right, yeah,
auditorium.
yeah. And then once the bond passes, then we actually start a schematic design process. And it may not look anything like this, but the sizes will have to be the same,
right,
right? The gym may be one place, the auditorium
or the
another
intent,
place.
right, the purpose.
And the purpose
Right,
would have to be
right.
the same.
The functions will be as requested, and the sizes will dictate what we've agreed to, because that's tied to the cost. But things may change around to work better for the district, yeah.
Yeah, that would be really.
You guys will design this building, believe it or not. Because we'll have 2 months of workshops trying to make sure it functions just the way the user wants it to.
I just care about what it looks like on the outside.
It will look fantastic.
So let me
I
ask
mean, I do care about the inside a lot, but.
one more question. Will the choir room and the band room be adequate, I mean, as big as the old ones were?
Like I
And
said,
will-
I don't know how big your previous ones. I'm assuming they were smaller than this. This is our standard band chorus room size.
Will that be good? I mean, were the rooms okay before, or were they pretty crowded?
They were workable before, I mean,
Okay.
bigger is always gonna be.
I can pretty much assure you that these are bigger.
I think you're right.
The size that matches the school is what we're going for.
And both of the band room and the chorus rooms will have The complementary storage areas, instrument, practice rooms, a lot of support spaces.
Perfect.
That's great.
Well, okay. Where do we go from here?
So, I guess for me, I'd like to, now that Kent has, on Century, we've kind of narrowed in on the option for Highland. I guess I'd like to come back next week sometime, Renee.
We
After
can meet this week if it.
Labor Day.
Too soon.
It just, how much time Kent
I
needs.
can have a
How much
concept
time
put
do you
together
need?
by tomorrow, obviously.
Well, so, yeah,
Anytime this
so
week.
tomorrow.
So, the end of the Thursday,
But what about,
Friday, or?
what about construction management? They might need.
Yeah, because we do need to
Are you
price it.
running?
That's what I was thinking, but I don't know.
They won't have time to throw that together by tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess if we
gotta
could look at
pause
our
and see if
calendars.
we can meet Thursday, right? While he looks at his.
Well,
I'm out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
well, I knew you told us
But-
you were out, yeah.
I'll be here.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, but,
Thursdays,
but will you have time to price it though? I mean, or would you rather have next week?
Well,
Again,
Ken can get us
You'd
to
have
us
to
at a
be here
decent
to
time
ask
tomorrow. We can
questions.
get it priced up tomorrow even.
and Mike's built the spreadsheets where
It's,
he somewhat trusts me.
we're good. He's good with
I
it.
don't know the board's schedule. Like I said, whether it be the end of this week, first to next, but then our focus is to get everything wrapped up. We'll get these, whatever the bond amount is, we'll get that priced. And we'll get our lawyers here, our bond counsel, and they'll be here for your work session on the 12th, is our ultimate goal. Thursday and Friday? And what about next week?
I'm good Friday until I like to be in Milan to watch my boy play football in the afternoon.
That's okay,
So
yeah.
could we do a Friday?
I'm
like,
here all
early
next week.
afternoon?
Okay, or next,
Or morning,
I don't know.
Friday morning?
Renee, jump,
Would Friday morning?
this week or first to next?
What's that, Paul?
Which Friday?
Thursday doesn't work for me,
This week?
until,
Next week.
unless it's after 2:30.
And Shay, we wouldn't have anyone here from,
I'll be here.
On
Bateman Hall.
Thursday afternoon, he can't.
I can be
Friday.
here Thursday and Friday.
Oh, morning.
Salmon, right? Is that Wednesday?
So if it's after 2:30, I can, and Friday I can anytime.
Okay.
After 2:30 on Thursday or any time on Friday. So I don't know what.
What time is, you have your
I
schedule?
can make either day work.
I can only do Thursday or Friday morning.
What about next?
Next week, I'm open.
So Friday morning is what's matching up with everybody?
That's what I mean, correct, that's what I was. Next, what is
You
your
can
next
do-
Tuesday, day after Labor Day work, or,
I'm fine for that day.
Oh, that's,
you did?
that's,
You did.
At what time?
Tentatively scheduled that one,
Is that probably 3:30?
3:30, because that was the standard, work session, kind of time, let me double check.
I could do that.
Tuesday the fifth.
Is that too late for you though, 3:30?
When?
2 p.m. on Tuesday the 5th is the tentative meeting we have scheduled, but we could just change the purpose of the
For
meeting.
what?
It won't be, originally it was to adopt bond language, but this would be now to review.
so
firm
what,
The same
numbers.
thing, yeah.
so it would be pushing back,
No,
doing the bond language then,
no.
if we push this back?
That was
Or is-
tentatively scheduled for the 5th, but with everything that we've had happen, we've already put that on September 12th for the work session as a special meeting.
That's the bond
Yep.
language?
Yeah, bond language would be the 12th.
I see, okay.
But I mean, if we could do it that Tuesday, because that way I gotta get our number, whatever the options, whatever Mike says. If we're comfortable, we'll get that to our bond advisor, to price it. Okay, this amount, so we'll know, have an exact document, and then they'll incorporate that into our bond resolution, which will be basically the ballot. You'll approve the ballot on the 12th.
And it doesn't push anything to try and schedule because the deadline is still the 18th. So
18th.
no matter when we adopt it, it still gets submitted by that date and then move forward. So
Okay, okay, thank you.
So Tuesday at 2?
Does that work?
Uh-huh, that works.
That work for everybody?
2
That
o'clock?
works for me.
That's the
Tues-
5th, right?
The 5th at 2.
Okay.
I think that'll be. And at that time, we will have Century drawings, Century pricing.
And,
Make su-
Renee, you said it was for this, but for what other thing on Tuesday? Or is it just gonna be this?
Just this.
Now that bond
It would
language
be
is
like,
new?
kind of like moving direction for firmer numbers and drawings,
Okay.
correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Same as
thank
this.
you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I think that's it.
Okay, now, do we move into public written comment? Well, we don't have any, so,
Could
Um,
one request I would have?
sure.
The auditorium is very expensive. Like I said, right now, Mike has priced out a 900-seat auditorium. It'd be good if we could just zero in exactly what you would like.
I think we originally talked about a 900, didn't we?
Okay.
Isn't that the top amount?
But we
you
can't-
$9.99.
Have the elevator?
Didn't you talk last week, though, that the average was more in the 650, 700?
No, I think there was mention that 650, it was what would fit a class. Want to be fit one class in it. Probably what we see in a 5A school is 999, 900. But it was, back when we were talking about the 650, was trying to fit it in the existing auditorium at the pre-mall.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we would typically design them around between 900 and 1,000.
I think that's
If you're
great.
good with
so
that, let's just leave it
900
at that.
is kind of the lower end of 5A, is that
When
what?
the time comes, I want to talk
900
about aisles.
That-
Right.
That's good enough.
That one in Idaho Falls is awful.
That's about the
50
most you could
rows.
get in before you have to have the second level? Is that what you were saying?
It's awful.
To 1,000, okay, okay.
Okay, so we'll, we're going into an executive session?
Well, I
It's-
was just asking something.
Oh, I don't think it's executive, it's personnel. So it was,
It says on the calendar, executive session personnel.
okay, all right, we can do it that way. Sure. Yep.
Okay, so we'll excuse everyone while we go into an executive session.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
see
We
you next
appreciate you
Tuesday.
guys a lot.
Phew.
Is this working for you? Yes. No.
Yeah, that's what I was, so